is this truly about health? Like, are all these measures being done to look out for me and you, our health, the health of our community, right, and the health of the United States as a whole? What is up, guys? Welcome to a Real Talk with Matty G, where I'm going to talk about things that maybe are a little bit controversial, that are my own opinion, and if you want to listen to it, come along for the ride. So today I'm going to talk about the State of the Union and what is going on, kind of a general overview of what I think about all this crazy stuff that's going on in our world. First off, this is just what I'm passionate about. This is what I'm curious about. This is not medical advice. It's just my opinion. Anything that I talk about in relation to health and well-being, go consult your doctor first. So something I want to talk about, something I care a lot about, is personal freedom, individual rights, and how that relates to our health and our well-being. Obviously, if you live in the world right now, we're going through a pandemic, and unfortunately, what started out as just 2 weeks to slow the spread turned into social distancing. Just stay 6 feet away from everyone. Don't go about, maybe lessen your routine. Then it turned into, well, just wear masks indoors. Make sure that you're sanitizing everything. But, everything's good and all. Keep doing what you're doing. Then it turned into, well, now we have to close down your business because unfortunately you're not deemed essential anymore. Liquor stores can stay open. Weed stores can stay open. Gas stations and all these other things that we use all the time, Target, Walmart, Home Depot, all these large corporations, they can stay open, but your business, this is where we draw the line. You obviously are a hot spot for what's going on. And then it turned into, well, now you have to be locked down. You have to stay indoors. You can't go exercise. You can't go see your family. Not Thanksgiving, Christmas. No, none of that. We're all in this together, right? Even though the hypocrisy behind people fucking doing, like, politicians, people that make the rules don't actually follow the rules, right? And then, this turns into, well, now you can't travel. You have to stay indoors. And then, a year goes by and now we're up to almost 18 plus months go by. And now it's kind of resulted in, you have to get this shot, you have to get this experimental drug, or you can't do the things you want. And I know that where I live, it's coming down to the schools, right? Like, they want to vaccinate our kids. They are now vaccinating workers in Charleston and in places like San Francisco and New York City, even with a medical exemption where you can't get the vaccination. You're not allowed to go to places anymore. You can't go out to eat, can't go shop for food. So if you live in those areas, I'd love to hear your own thoughts on this. But is this truly about health? Like, are all these measures being done to look out for me and you, our health, the health of our community, right, and the health of the United States as a whole? So something that I care very passionately about is taking your health into your own concern. And this is where I think that there's this huge, divide. If this was about health, if this was about ending the, lessening the amount of suffering throughout the entire world, why aren't we talking about the extreme correlation between comorbidities like heart disease, like high blood pressure, like low vitamin D status, like obesity, and their relation to poor outcomes by the virus? Why aren't we talking about that? Why isn't that in the headlines? Why isn't that the number one priority of our government, is to get people, whether that's get them outside, get them in a vitamin D supplementation, putting out protocols from the why doesn't the White House just start an exercise program? Every day they can hire a trainer that can host a live, simple workout, body weight stuff. You don't need any equipment. We'll do some jumping jacks, we'll do some squats, we'll do some push-ups. We'll show you how to do it in your own household to take advantage of this crazy internet platform. So we stop spreading fear and tell you what not to do. Now, why don't we show you actually how to lose some weight? Why don't we show you how to cook some food, cook some veggies, how you can shop more effectively with your dollar. We can teach you about nutrition. We can teach you about these lifestyle things that we know have an effect on this pandemic. And guess what? They also help you with every other disease in your life that is just ravaging. Like before this whole pandemic, we had a pandemic of obesity and chronic disease in the United States and in the Western world. Why don't we show you that? Why don't we show how to stop that? No, we definitely won't tell you that. Just get this jab and your whole life will be fine. Like anyone who is opposed to it obviously is on the wrong team. And I think that that's a big part of this is it's tribalism, it's ideology. They want us to hate each other, whether it's around gender, whether it's around vaccines, whether it's around health, Republican, Democrat, all this stuff. They want us to hate each other. Because then we stop focusing on what they're actually doing at the top and what misuse of power or just awful decisions they're doing. Like right now in Australia, they're going through another lockdown and they're literally creating what looks exactly like a concentration camp for people who are infected with COVID or maybe who are unvaxxed. It's absurd. So if it was about health, why aren't we taking all these other things to, number one, just improve our health overall, and then we can attack this one little issue of the COVID, but it also helps your physical, mental, and emotional well-being to start exercising, to get out in the sun, to start walking, to start eating better, to start breathing and meditating. So it's obviously not about health. And then something that I want to talk about is this conversation around the pharmaceutical industry, around its profits and its kind of play into the world. Something that a lot of people might not know. Well, let's do this. First, let's briefly overview who I'm talking about. I'm talking about these huge pharmaceutical conglomerates that make a lot of drugs that help out a lot of people. Unfortunately, though, they have also hurt a lot of people. Our favorite company, Pfizer, actually got sued for the largest criminal, they had to pay the largest criminal fine ever, $1.3 billion for going against the FDA in this drug. I think it's called Bextra. False advertisement, hurting people, and not doing falsely advertising their drug, what it was for, and its effects. All right, they also had to pay $1 billion to people that were hurt from other different drugs that they put out. And the list goes on and on, whether it's Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, all these other companies. They don't have the best track record. Okay, then besides the point of that, let's think about their specific, the jab. Well, they're actually not liable for any injuries that it causes. Okay, so I just want you to think about maybe another something else that you buy that if we applied that, like cars. So imagine you buy a car and before they sell it to you, they say, well, I just want to let you know, we're not liable if this breaks. Okay. Really funny story. There's gates at my apartment complex and there's a huge sign on the gate that says we are not liable if the damages that this cause if it malfunctions. And I'm like, what if they said that about our roof? What if they had a sign in our apartment that was well, if the roof collapses, it's actually not our fault. You assume the risk by entering the room. Okay, back to the point. Imagine you buy a car and they're yeah, well, we're actually not liable if the airbags don't work. That's on you. You're taking the risk. What? No, I'm not buying your car. But no, it's actually, you have to buy our car. It's mandated. You actually can't get any other car. Seems a little odd, right? Also, if you're not familiar, these people that run these companies, like the CEOs, the people that run marketing, the people that are high up in their research departments, also work for the FDA and other companies in the government. So it's very, 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 very frequent that someone who works in the FDA for long periods of time, and let's just use Pfizer for example, but it happens with many other pharmaceutical industries, companies. Someone works in FDA, they give some love to Pfizer, they give some love back. Okay, he finishes out his term in the FDA, maybe he doesn't get reapproved. Guess what? He has a perfect job at Pfizer to go right over here and work for the next 10 years. And guess what? He might even transfer back. And it happens. They just love each other and they help each other out and they help promote each other for profit, for money, for power and control, because that's all they want. That's on an individual level, they just want more money and they want to keep their job. And we can make the moral claim against them. I'm not here to do that, just to point out the facts of what happens in relation to that. And then also, if it was about health, why would we not start promoting any other thing that would help us be healthier and reduce the suffering related to COVID? Namely, ivermectin. So I'll give you a brief overview and put you towards actual doctors that treat COVID people for the past year and a half, have treated people for the past year and a half, that are that know the body much better than I do, and you can actually get information. Again, this is not medical advice. I'm just expressing the opinion, my own opinion on this. If you're not familiar, ivermectin has been in the news a lot recently, and it just got a lot more news related to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is a critic of the vaccine for blatant mandates of everybody get it. It's completely safe. Nothing goes wrong with it. He's just critical of that. And he got COVID recently and bounced back really quickly because he used a bunch of alternative medicines like NAD therapy drips, like vitamin C IV drips, also by taking ivermectin and other monoclonal antibodies, which are all really effective. And he got healthy, and he also exercises, takes care of himself very often, very routinely, is very adamant about that, and also helps spread the word about all these incredible things and uses his platform for good. Crazy idea, right? And so everyone's like, oh, it's a horse dewormer and all this stuff. Listen, ivermectin has been used, I think, for around a decade now. It was discovered by a Japanese scientist in Japan, grown from a mushroom. It received the Nobel Peace Prize for how good, safe, and effective it was for human consumption. It has been used over 4 billion doses. Okay, it was listed by the World Health Organization as an essential medicine. It's very anti-parasitic, it's very antiviral, and it just helps reduce inflammation. That's a very general statement about it. Yeah, and now it has a smear campaign run over it. It's massive amounts of censorship, and some of it's people that don't want it to be in use. I don't understand why. I guess to strongman their argument, they would say that it's not safe and effective. Well, there's been around 60 peer-reviewed studies about its safety and effectiveness in different formats and different environments. There's been 30 randomized control trials showing its efficacy in the preventive measure of the pandemic, and also preventative. So take it before, or take it just once a month, so that you don't get sick. Very useful. Also during it, so oh, hey, you got it, here it is, we'll give it to you. Reduces the risk of you getting really sick by COVID and getting hurt by it and infecting others. And then also later, oh, hey, you've had it and you're very fat, you have a ton of comorbidities, you're very immunocompromised, we'll give it to you. It helps out really good there too. And it's just crazy because so many countries around the world have just used it as a ditch resort, and it's been incredibly effective. There was a study that went on, I believe, in a South American country, where they tested, or they in the experiment, they have 1,200 healthcare workers that were in an extremely high risk environment, because due to viruses, high viral load. So if you're exposed to it a lot, it's a lot worse for you. And so they were in a high viral load situation. They gave 1,200 people in the experiment. 700 took ivermectin. I don't know the exact doses on that. You can check that out. They gave 500 didn't take it. Of the 500 that didn't take it, 60% of them were infected by COVID. Out of the 700 people that took the ivermectin, 0 were infected. 0. Just one study, but that's pretty significant. It also has been used in many different Mexican states as a test and treat measure. So they test it. As soon as you realize that you were tested positive, they give it to you, and they see a sharp decrease in maybe the symptoms or the hospitalizations in that group as compared to if they didn't do it. A lot of you might know that India was hit pretty hard, I want to say a month or two ago, and the states that were unbiased and decided to use ivermectin saw huge decreases in the weeks after they started implementing that. So yeah, And there's countries in Eastern Europe, other countries in South America and Latin America that have been using it as a last ditch effort and are seeing amazing results. They don't care, they just want to help people. And I'm getting all this information from a lot of people that talk about it, but mainly Dr. Pierre Corey and the FLCCA, Frontline Clinicians COVID Care Allegiance. I may be messing up the order with the C's, but they're a group of doctors who have been treating COVID since the beginning. They are sharing data. They're looking at research all around the world, just trying to help patients out. They just want to help people out. And they're like, yo, why are we not using this drug? Like, it obviously helps. There's very little cons associated with it. Why is it being censored? Why are we being told it's a horse dewormer? Like, no, it's like, yeah, it can be used for that, but it's like, it's a human drug. Like, that's why it's so robustly made. Here's the reason why. Here's the tea as to why there's a smear campaign going around it. The emergency use authorization that is issued by, I believe, the FDA that allows, in the past, I know that one, I think, got approved, allows these vaccines and other drugs to be kind of rushed through the process, has a stipulation that there can't be a safe and effective alternative. Namely, you can't keep just giving out this untested vaccine if there is a safe and effective alternative treatment for it. Well, ivermectin is a safe and alternative effective treatment. Do you see where I'm going with this? Ivermectin also, I don't know the term, but it's not patented, meaning like anybody can produce it, and it's relatively low cost. It costs around $26 for a full treatment to treat somebody with it, right? So anybody can make it, anybody can use it. It's very low cost. Not a lot of money to be made on ivermectin. Well, our dear Lord and Savior Anthony Fauci, I think put in I don't know the exact amount, a lot of money for them to research a new drug that essentially does the same exact thing as ivermectin. What is it called, guys? It is called molnupiravir. It does essentially the same exact thing as ivermectin, except it's $700 a dose. $700? Why would I do that? That's what, 4 times 7? 28 times more expensive. That's weird. And it's patented. It's only one company can make it, and they make all the profit. That's interesting. See, this kind of relationship between the companies gets a little sketchy, and you can see how it's really about money and power and control in the market. So that's my rant, guys. Realize that in life, things comes down to power, comes down to money and control. And unfortunately, we have let the people that lead our country tell us what to do. And a lot of people aren't even they're not elected officials like Fauci. He's not elected. We didn't elect him to do this. No, the CDC is a third party that the government employs, and the government puts, I'm not saying they're not doing a lot of good stuff and they don't help people out, but when do we start realizing that it's about health? It's not about preventing disease. Right? Why don't we show people how to eat and how to cook and how to move well and how to think well and how to read books that are good for them and how to exercise and how to take care of their bodies, take care of their family in healthy, natural ways that we know is a robust way to prevent any illness, obesity, heart disease, atherosclerosis, all the stuff that is still ravaging, cancer that just kills so many people a year, alcoholism, right? But we focus on this one thing that is a vaccine that is on one part of the spike protein that isn't really effective for all these variants that are popping up. No, why don't we just promote health? Well, that doesn't make much sense, Matt. You're crazy. You're just a coach. Not everybody can afford that. Fuck that. We pay so much in healthcare. We pay so much to fund these drugs and research and all this dumb stuff when we could use the White House and the CDC's authority to start talking about things that actually make a difference in relation to all these other issues, mental health, physical health, emotional health, that everybody struggles with. But no, I'm crazy. All right, so this is a real talk with Matty G. If you enjoyed this conversation, or not the conversation, if you enjoyed listening to me, I'd really appreciate it if you shared this video. I'm gonna start talking about this stuff more and more often. I had some other things I wanted to talk about, but for another day. Thank you guys for listening. Stay strong, speak out, speak your word, and stand up for what you believe in. All right? Stand up for your values, do what you love, have more fun, eat better food, move often, breathe intentionally, think intentionally, keep doing you. Thanks for watching, fam.